This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Nick Cowan, the Group CEO of Valarium PLC, listed on the Aquis Exchange with the ticker VLRM. Thank you very much for joining us today. Nick, how are you?
Yeah, very well, Mark. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's good to be talking to you, of course, for the first time. I wonder if you can perhaps start us off by giving us maybe the elevator pitch, the high-level overview of the company and what you're all about.
Yeah, sure. Valarium is all about tokenization, and we completed the acquisition of the GSX Group, which was a Gibraltar-based company as well. This all came about with Valerium's objective to try and acquire the Gibraltar Stock Exchange, which the GSX Group was operating. The short story is that that acquisition failed to materialize. And then, in fact, the management of Valerium, the management of GSX Group sat down and said, maybe there's an opportunity for us both here to actually get together and do something really exciting to combine effectively the vision and the strategy. So those discussions started in October, November 2023 and concluded at the very end of January when the GSX Group shareholders approved the transaction. So we've been working basically for about 4 months on preparing and getting ready really for the relaunch of Valerium. And that was organised on the 22nd of February when we first went live to the shareholders with a shareholder meeting presentation to lay out our vision and strategy over the next few years. We're all about tokenization, and it really follows on from the GSX Group strategy. We've got really two verticals to think about. Vertical one is technology. So just about our backgrounds, we are I'm 4 decades in investment banking, from trading and equities and derivatives background. We're basically a bunch of investment banker types, capital markets types, but also with a strong technology bias. And what we wanted to try to do was to really disrupt what we see as a major opportunity, and that's what tokenization has really started to evolve, where we can really try to open up different market streams in terms of what we would call public markets, so the way currently public markets trade and settle and issue securities, and also real world assets, as we would call them, the whole sort of from real estate through to forestry, for example, or carbon credits. Tokenization drives efficiency in all of those markets from our perspective. So we have a technology vertical where we started back in 2018 designing and starting to develop that technology. That first version of the technology is due to be completed this year, which we're very excited about. It's been a long time coming, and we will use that technology in our second vertical, which is operating marketplaces. But we will also seek to white label and license that technology to any financial institution that wants to use tokenization technology, from market professionals through to exchanges, through to central securities depositories, through to brokers, etc. So marketplace operation and technology solutions is what the Valarium vision is all about, but it's all focused on tokenization.
Well, you've mentioned tokenization a few times, and I noticed, I think there's a quote from perhaps a chairman on the website: to unlock capital and create value in tokenized digital markets, VLRM is offering to transform the global finance, in a far-reaching and impactful way. So I guess the first question really is tokenization. Can you explain exactly what that means?
Yeah, I think if you look at it, I'm often accused of going too deep too quickly in terms of the technology explanation, sure. And it can, what might seem, I guess relatively obvious to me, isn't necessarily obvious to somebody who doesn't know anything about tokenization. So if you just think about tokenization as really a digital representation which allows the immediate transfer of assets. So why is that important, and why does that drive efficiency? I guess here is a working example. Okay, so this is a real practical example, which in fact happened to us. We own stock in a company. An AGM had been called. We didn't know about the AGM. A letter was written to us in Gibraltar. The Gibraltar Post sucks. We didn't get the letter. A friend told us about the AGM at the last minute. We had a deadline to fill in the proxy form. We managed to get that form back. But what if we hadn't heard about it? What if what if I bought shares the day before the AGM? I don't qualify. So tokenization should allow you on your phone to be able to buy a security 5 minutes before the AGM, and you appear instantly on the shareholder register, and you can DocuSign with your thumb your proxy form. And so if you think about certain people of a certain age like me used to go to Blockbuster to rent a video, and the video would be out because everybody wants it. So I'd go home with Terminator 2 again. I would forget to return the video and I'll get charged 40 quid. And then Netflix came into Blockbuster and had a really good idea, and Blockbuster threw them out. So think of today's financial markets as Blockbuster, and think of tokenization as streaming. Today, I get angry if I can't get a movie downloaded in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
That's where financial markets, in my view, are today. The fact that you're getting dividends through by check through the post, it's archaic, it's ridiculous, and everything has to basically modernize.
I see. So that's when you talk about, yes, transforming the global financial landscape. Okay.
And that's just a very simple example of what you can do. But really what you want to be able to do, if you think about it, you should be able to buy Apple shares on your phone, on your sofa, on a Sunday, using your Bitcoin balance while you're watching football. And you immediately appear on the shareholder register on Sunday morning. That, I believe, is 10 years away. But that's what tokenization is about. So when you think about that, it reduces costs, it reduces capital, it reduces counterparty risk, it opens up interoperability, it's about empowerment, it's about the unbanked, it's about democratizing finance, all those great buzzwords. It's basically about being able to do stuff flexibly now. Okay. That's what this is about.
Okay, and is it in the realm of crypto, in the realm of the blockchain space? Is that tied in here as well?
Yeah, I think what crypto has taught us is that you can use technology to enable innovation, right? So technology in financial markets, in my 4 decades, hasn't really changed that much. It's still a T+2 settlement cycle, and the technology is what the technology has always been. I think that the system works. We just think it can work a lot better. So if you can take some of the technology that's evolved in the basically the crypto universe, bring in the great things about regulation and legal and compliance and investor protection and that good stuff, put those two together into what we would call a T-instant platform where things happen today on your phone immediately. You're taking the best of both platforms and bolting them together to build something that I think is highly disruptive, but actually is well overdue. And you're seeing now that evolution with everyone from the London Stock Exchange to central banks talking about digital currencies being issued, through to BlackRock saying the biggest game changer that they see on the landscape is tokenization. Everyone knows it's coming. And our view is over the next 10 years, Boston Consulting Group have said it's a $16 to $64 trillion opportunity in 2030, just in real world assets. You've got $100 trillion of assets in public markets, and they turn over an enormous amount. Those markets are absolutely ripe for basically driving down costs and giving choice to investors and issuers.
Okay. Well, I get the vision. You've definitely spelled out the dream there, the vision, but let's see if we can drill down a bit more into the detail of what your tangible things that you're working on, what investors might want to get their hands on. So you talked about perhaps 3 verticals there: technology, marketplaces, and then licensing out some of that technology, I guess, that you'll be developing. So I guess there's 2 questions here, really. I presume you're working on products or technology in the background that you'll roll out. And then, of course, there's the business case, the investment case, the revenue generating model. But let's talk about what the team are working on at the moment in terms of the products or indeed technology, how advanced they are, where the efforts are, and timelines. I know on your website there's a quite a long timeline. So you've obviously got you're spelling out your vision quite clearly there.
Yes, I think the main driver has been basically getting the technology to really the start line, and that's version 1, what we call phase 1. That should be ready by Q4 this year. That's been 3 years actually in technology development. So we want to get that finished this year. So that's really the first milestone for Valerium, to get that technology basically complete in terms of version 1 and get that deployed. How do we deploy it? We'll deploy it most likely in our own market first. It's quite hard to license the technology to external clients without being able to prove that it works. So the second milestone that we will be driving forward is to open our own public exchange, i.e. an exchange with a central securities depository, because that's all part of our business model, and deploy the technology solution into that market. We would anticipate that being at some point during 2025. Why? Because getting a license for an exchange takes time, and you're dealing with regulators, and there are always unknown timelines. We will also this year be aiming to open our first marketplace, which is a real-world asset marketplace. You've got the public markets, but you've also got the real-world asset marketplace. So, for example, real-world asset could be gold, tokenized gold, and we will aim to open a Valarium wallet as well, which allows you to interact with that marketplace via your phone using your wallet. So this year is all about, I talk a lot about execution. I think Valarium has struggled to execute in the past. The acquisition of the stock exchange was probably going to be their first execution, but it didn't happen. So we want to get a real asset marketplace open this year. We want to get our technology finished this year, version 1. There's obviously a five-year ongoing development, and ideally we want to try and open an exchange next year in a jurisdiction somewhere. We're basically going through that what we call discovery process now, and then we will seek to license our software to the world, basically starting in 2025. And then we will continue to develop and upgrade that technology. And as you said earlier, we'll be adding asset classes, we'll be adding functionality to drive liquidity into the marketplaces.
Okay, good. That spells out a few things. If I can ask a little bit more detail on the technology, that phase 1 that you talked about, what exactly is it that the end product will look like?
Yeah, if you think about a turnkey solution for an exchange is probably the best way to think about it.
Okay.
Exchange has different component parts to it. So what we do is we have partnered up with a bunch of really high-end technology vendors who've been doing their own specific bit for a while. Think of it as a Red Bull solution. So we take the best component parts and we put our skin on it and basically try to exploit their technology to drive tokenization. So we provide a matching engine, we provide surveillance, we provide central securities depository software, we provide a wallet infrastructure, onboarding technology, tokenization. It's a bunch of component parts that go into a single turnkey solution. So, and we've worked with those partners now for a number of years. What we don't want to do is to reinvent the wheel. There's no point Valerium trying to build a matching engine when our technology partner, STT in South Africa, who looks after different exchanges globally, they've been doing this for 30 years. So it's much smarter to work with a great partner and say, do you want to come on the journey with us? And what we'll try and do in terms of technology, if you think about it simply, is you take, think again, a big mixing desk in a recording studio, migrating towards working inside the computer. So what we'll be doing is we will be taking analog technology, as we call it, but building that what we would call on-chain. So we're basically building a blockchain-based technology platform that allows us to collapse the infrastructure. And what it means is that if you think about the shareholder register ends up in the point of trade in the matching engine. So when you trade, you settle with something called settlement finality. So, and that's the difficult part, right? That's the part that is really, really quite complex. And that's what our phase 4 looks like when we finally get there.
Okay. Sounds like you've got big ambitions.
We have. Yes, we have. I think we had, when we started on this really about 4 or 5 years ago, and we sat down and said, look, we think with distributed ledger technology now being available and all this innovation, could we use this to be quite disruptive in existing financial markets? Could we actually innovate and drive efficiency? And what we thought about at the time would be a relatively simple, fast idea to create what we would call a T-instant model. Has actually turned out to be, yes, much more ambitious than we thought. So it is a case of, go big or go home. But I think we've been doing this now for a few years, and we've got a highly motivated team, and the whole GSX Group team has come into Valerium. We've got Pete here, who was from Valerium previously. We've got Jamie, our chairman. We have a team that's worked together now for the best part of a decade. We've got, anything up to, in my case, I'm the oldest person probably with 40 years experience in financial markets. We know what we want to get done, and we know how we're going to get it done. And that's the most important thing. We have a very clear vision and strategy, and we have a highly qualified team to basically execute. So, and I think joining Valerium was probably the biggest breakthrough we've ever had, because we go from being a private company, which is always tougher to raise capital than it is being a public company. And I think being listed on Aquis gives us the opportunity to continuously see if we can tap markets to expand and grow and scale. And this is about scalability and really just driving that technology solution and licensing it globally. And the more people that join the technology platform, the faster the tokenization revolution, picks up.
Good. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Nick Cowan, the Group CEO of Valarium PLC. Looking forward to continuing to follow the story.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.